So we are determining quadratic rules, and in this question we're being asked to find the equation of the quadratic passing through, and then we are given these points. Now, whenever we're determining the rule for a quadratic, we know that we have three options before us. If we're given two x-intercepts, we'll use this form. When we're given a turning point, we'll use this form. And when we are given three arbitrary points, we will use this form. Now, our first step in answering this question will be determining which rule we are going to use. And we're going to determine that by looking at the points we are given. None of these points are x-intercepts. They seem to just be three arbitrary points. So that means we're going to be using this rule right here. So step number one will be writing that down. So I'm just going to copy it out. Y equals ax squared plus bx plus c. Perfect. That's our first step. Our next step, step number 2, is going to be creating a system of equations which we will then use our CAS to solve. So what do I mean by that? So what we're going to do is take each point. So let's begin with this point right here. And we're going to say this is 1, 4. We're then going to put this point into this rule. So in my y spot, I will put 4 equals. And then in my x spot, I will put 1. So I'm going to get a1 squared plus b. Again, in my x spot, I'm putting 1 plus c. And that means my final rule will be 4 equals 1 squared is a plus b times 1 is b plus c. Then I'm going to do the same, but now for this point. So I take this point, -2 and 25, and I pop it in here. So in my y spot, I put 25 equals. In my x spot, I put -2. So I'm going to get a -2 squared plus b -2 plus c. So that's going to be 25 equals -2 squared is 4a -2b plus c. Perfect. Then finally, our last point right here is -1 and 14. So I put this point in. So I have 14 in my y spot. I have -1 in my x spot plus c. Perfect. So that means I'm finally going to get 14. -1 squared is 1. So it's just going to be a. This is going to be -b plus c. Perfect. So at the end of all of this, after we've subbed in our 3 points 3 times, we're going to be left with 3 equations. Now, using our CAS, we're going to be solving a system of equations. So this is step number 3. So let me come here. Step number 3 is going to be using your CAS. So let's bring up our CAS. Actually, let me come right here. Come down. Let me bring up my CAS. Here it is. Now I need to create a system of equations. So you're going to come to menu. You're going to go to algebra. You're going to come down to 7, which says solve system of equations. Then this will pop up. Click the first one. Then go up, because we have 3. Number of equations, we have 3. 1, 2, 3. And our variables are, here they've given us x, y, and z, but we have a, b, and c. So let's click OK, and this is going to come up for us. So now all we have to do is type in each of these. So my first one here is going to be 4 equals a plus b plus c. Then we go to our next line. We're going to put this one in. 25 equals 4a minus 2b plus c. Then we come to our next line, and we're going to put this one in. 14 equals a minus b plus c. Perfect. After we've done all that, we hit enter, and our answer spits out what our a is, what our b is, and what our c is. So a is 2, b is -5, and c is 7. So I'm going to come here, and I'm going to write that down. So this is step number, actually let me put this in step number 3 because technically it's what our CAS has given us. A was 2, B was -5, and C was 7. Perfect. Let me now come to step number 4. Step number 4. And step number 4 is simply going to be putting 2, -5, and C into what we were originally given. So remember, this is the form of the equation that we have. So let me bring this down. This is the form of the quadratic that we are using. Let me bring this down. And now we know what A is. A is 2. We know what B is. B is -5. And we know what C is. C is 7. So I can come here and sub in those points. So in my A spot, I'll put 2. In my B spot, I'll put -5. And in my C spot, I will put 7. And let me just make that all one color. Let's make that black. That will be your final answer. Y equals 2x squared minus 5x plus C. Hopefully this video was helpful in showing you how to use the CAS and how to answer this specific question of determining a quadratic rule when you're given 3 arbitrary points.